Hey everybody, welcome. It's Wednesday and it's our SaaS Founder Show where we talk to really interesting founders of software companies to hear a little bit about their journey, their challenges, and what it takes to grow and create a software company. I'm Andy Helko, CEO of Insivia, usually joined by Tony, but today I think he's got a bake sale or getting a COVID vaccine or something like that, but he's not with us today. But we've got an exciting show that we're going to really enjoy learning about our founder. Jonathan Fishbeck is the founder of ESTATESPACE, a really cool platform that I think you'll find interesting, and he's got a great story of his entrepreneurial journey, and we'll bring Jonathan on right now. Hey, Jonathan, welcome.
Hey, Andy, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we really appreciate you joining us and can't wait to have this conversation about your journey. We were just having a little talk about how you're a three-peater, you said?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about ESTATESPACE first. What is it? Who's it for? And just a little bit about your software.
Yeah, so thank you again for having us. So ESTATESPACE is meant to help simplify complex operations, to help reduce risk, and we're doing that through streamlined communication and a standardization of information. Our product, our platform, our marketplace, it's targeted for ultra high net worth families and luxury providers. And our maturation, if you will, we started with an assets portfolio, so we were the first platform to be able to bring you to both mobile and web now your real property assets so that you can manage your home, all of the things that go in it to include your pets, inventory, etc. We then moved to a properties portfolio where we started to add the beginning of an operational piece and communications. And now we are focusing and working on really an end-to-end business solution to cover all aspects of an operation. Again, very even if you have a simple business, things can get very complex very quickly. And so it's our job to help simplify those experiences and allow our clients to gain efficiencies and really focus on doing what they love.
Yeah, that's great. So, I always like to start out with origin story. How did you get started? Because, and for you, maybe it's even going back a little bit further to your first business. How did you get started in that? And then how did that evolve to getting to ESTATESPACE?
Yeah, no, great question. And it's kind of a lifelong journey for myself. So I was the son of an entrepreneur, so I experienced that also in the technology space, technologist by education, but I spent most of my professional career in estate construction, design build. In the last 12 years, we've been really focused on the ultra high net worth space. And it was really through those experiences, my previous two ventures were construction firms, which is still active. And so it was again, through those experiences, through that journey of construction where we had a front row seat with the stakeholders, with all of the partners and professional service providers, family offices in the case of our clients and their staff. And so gaining all of that knowledge base really and those insights, it gave us the kind of the genesis and the big idea when it came to estates. And it was really understanding kind of what were the problems, what were the desired results, and how could we use technology. And so it was really about 5 years ago when we had the big idea, if you will, and that's when we founded ESTATESPACE 4 years ago in 2017.
That's pretty cool. I'm kind of curious, it sounds like we have similar backgrounds. My dad was an entrepreneur. I kind of taught myself the program, so a little bit more on the technical side. I'm kind of curious, do you think that, your family having been in the entrepreneurial space was influential for you growing up to get into it now?
Yeah, I think it's twofold for myself, right? So they were definitely an influence, both both of my parents, right? What it took professionally at the workplace with my father, and then what it took at home with my mother and my family, right? You got to have both pieces there to really have a successful venture, if you will. It takes a tribe, right? But then I think, secondly, ESTATESPACE was helping solve some of our family's issues, right? And so it was, for us, a great experience in being able to create technology that we knew it could help my businesses, it could help our family. And, if you ask me kind of why I exist, I exist to help people both, personally and professionally. And so super simple why, and that's really, I think, the kind of the core cultural value that we carry forward into all three ventures was really just a focus on helping people, right? You wake up, if that's your goal, you're going to end up feeling good. Some days are going to be tough, some days are going to be great, but when it's all said and done, you've kind of got that core value that you can look back on and know that you're doing things for the right reasons.
That's something that you use to keep centered, is kind of your core value and overall mission versus just the business and the mission of the business, if you will.
Yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, I've also found, right, that it's and this has changed kind of in a paradigm shift over the last 5 years, where I've really realized that I don't really care for more of a hierarchical business model. I like to run a flat model. And the reason I like to do that is because, even as a CEO, I believe that it gives you the ability to best serve your client, to best serve your partners, your employees, your providers, right? So you're able to work across all four of those different aspects within a company. And when you're able to work across the team and down to your providers, up to your partners and clients, it really allows you to stay in today's modern business world. You have to have a certain level of agility, and so I believe doing that has really allowed me to find great success and be able to keep up with the fast pace of today's business world.
Yeah, definitely. I think for everybody, there's always a lot going on, but as an owner, I mean, you tend to have, a lot of pokers in the fire, if you will. I'm kind of curious to go back a little bit. You mentioned of you and some other folks around you identifying a problem that ESTATESPACE could solve. I'm just kind of curious, was that something that, simmered over years and it was always, there really needs to be something, or was there a big change or event that kind of in the marketplace that sparked it? What was the evolution of that problem to idea to next stage?
Got it. Yeah. So as far as the experiences went, right, we saw a lot of, we're dealing in a private residence, right? So we're dealing with people that have just, real human problems, right? And so that can be everything. We've witnessed everything from a lack of communication, where staff and, say, a family are just miscommunicating and there's issues there, or work might not being performed, expectations not being met, all the way to sibling divorce over real property assets. And so, that whole myriad of problems, and everything in between, it was kind of, that was like, all right, that's the big problem. As far as the idea of ESTATESPACE goes, part of it's also been that long term. I've been in business for 18 plus years now. I'm using 25 disparate technologies across a number of different platforms, and none of them talk. And so there's a ton of administrative work. There's a lot that goes into just trying to keep up with and running your business. And it feels like you're doing something internally for the company, you're doing something externally for your clients. Nothing is connected. And so there's a lot of churn in the business, and it's a lot of time spent. I mentioned that I want our clients to be able to focus on doing the thing that they love, right? Not managing a workflow, right? That's something that technology can solve for. So it was kind of that, taking the problem and then taking our business experience and saying, okay, how can we create something where we can combine all of the best practices that we've developed, all the experiences that we've had, and solve for all these problems in a very simple way. And we've been able to do that at ESTATESPACE because we've really focused on, in order to have an end-to-end business and be as efficient as humanly possible, we need to take all those 25 disparate tools and we need to build them onto one platform. And so we're probably about 60% of the way there, and we've got some exciting strategic partners, some exciting stuff coming out this summer where we'll actually be completing that, where, you know, everything from e-signature to just all the pieces and parts of really running a company, and both interfacing with all parties in a secure way. So so I think that you know, that's probably the last piece, is that security has been a leading a leading driver for our company, because of the just information in general that you're dealing with digitally. You need to make sure that you're protecting it. You know, our focus is always putting our clients first, having a win-win-win for our clients, our partners, our business, but ultimately our clients' interests are very important to us. And, you know, security and then trying to create secure convenience for our clients, that's, you know, that's been a challenge because they're polar opposites on you know, end to end. And so trying to deliver that, that was probably the first couple of years of really trying to figure this company out. But the last couple of years have just been, you know, extremely fun, and you know, the exciting part of the startup, right?
Yeah, it's always you know, we've talked to a lot of founders. Always an interesting road, and I really want to talk about the future of the product for sure. But just to go back, I'd love to hear a little bit more of how the rubber meets the road of getting started. You know, how did you exactly develop kind of a product plan, and then find the team or develop the product on your own? And what were the first like 3 to 6 months of your journey? What were the details of how that happened?
Yeah, no, great question. I think mine kind of starts with a problem, right? We had such a huge idea. So the hardest thing for us was figuring out where to start, Andy. And so that didn't just happen. That didn't take 3 to 6 months. That took about 1.5 years to really figure all of that out. Knowing that we wanted to do things, I think we got lucky in the sense that the assets that we created, the platform that we started to build, we were building in the right direction. So we were able to reallocate things as we started to really figure it out in year 2. But once we understood kind of where to start, I think that was a combination of really just finding some of the right people to come in and consult with the business, help us kind of slow down the speed up, if you will, and really think through that. And so it was summer of 2019 when we had an alpha product. We then took that to beta. We had we had 13 initial families, businesses, clients that were using the platform to give us that early feedback, and we launched a commercial product June of 2020, right in the middle of a pandemic. So as far as starting off, you know, with any business, I mean, it's exciting. There's a lot of ups and downs. You know, as a founder and CEO, you're going to be experiencing all of those things where an employee might be insulated, if you will, from those things. And when it's all said and done, you know, I just try to always, you know, just slow down, breathe, and be methodical, and then execute with any aspect of the business, knowing that somehow it's all going to work out.
I'm always curious about the mentality of it. You know, you've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I know, you know, I've had my business for 20 years. And like you said, there's lots of ups and downs. You know, you face a lot of different challenges. There's also a lot of highs. But, you know, how do you handle the, I guess, mental and emotional side of just generally, you know, starting and running a business?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to core values, right? Like I'm honest with my team. I trust my team. I trust them to be honest back. I know that I don't have all the answers. I think probably you know, over my experiences, I've grown up a few different times as a leader in business, and I probably made my biggest leaps and bounds through others, right? Actually being able to kind of take that hat off and pass it to somebody else and trust that it's going to get done, and I think that's one of those scary moments, right, where you're you know, a lot of us are control freaks, if you will. So trying to step back and I think my favorite part is I'm kind of always just humbled to be on the team that I've put together. Fantastic people, right? So to be able to know that you don't have all the answers and just, rely on others, seek advice. I mean, I was asked the question of if I had $1,000, what would I spend it on? And I would spend it on good advice. I wouldn't buy a computer. I wouldn't buy Wi-Fi. I would get good advice up front, because most of your challenges when it comes to cost, the costliest challenges are in the beginning, right? So if you can get good advice, you can get a mentor that's been in your space, kind of been there, done that, to help you navigate those most costly risks in the beginning of starting a business. Again, that happened for me, a year and a half into the company, but it was the best thing that ever happened, right? But one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I'm just again thankful and humble to have a team both up and down with a great board, great advisors, and then just a great team that I'm able to work with every day.
I love that, humbled to be part of the team that I've been able to assemble, because we always hear you want to surround ourselves with people that are smarter than us or more capable, et cetera. And so I think that's a great way to look at it, is if you are humble, humbled to be part of that team, you've probably done something right.
Absolutely.
Mentors are such a big piece. I've used them throughout the years and different groups that I've been part of entrepreneurs and having folks to rely on. I'm kind of curious to hear from you how, obviously it sounds like you've had mentors. Where'd you find them? How did you engage with them? What do you typically look for from someone to get advice from?
So I think, my first mentor was my mother and father, right? So they kind of had me. When it came professionally, I've said, I would say that anyone would be lucky to have one great mentor in their career. If you can have more than that, that's just, you're blessed. I feel like I've been blessed. I've worked through a lot, worked with a lot of great people that I've been able to gain a lot of knowledge from. I would say though that, again, in the last few years, it was kind of, that maturation for me personally and professionally was kind of, especially with this business being similar to the business that my family was in technology, was kind of finding a new group of mentors. And I was able to do that across the different verticals within our business. So sales, marketing, and then a coach and an advisor, and Mr. Barry Liebert, who was able to really help me mature and be able to take this company to where it ultimately can go, which is, our ceiling is very high here, Andy. So, it was I'd say the last 2-3 years of really kind of separating from my family and from a mentorship perspective, and just being a family, and then finding that next group of advisors to help best serve this company. Again, very, very tough decisions that we have to make as founders. Some great, some not envied by any. But that's kind of the last few years of where I've kind of come from and gotten to at this point, which has I think my favorite part of all of this is being able to give back to other entrepreneurs. And so in order for me to help keep myself sharp in best practices, I'll take on somebody that, someone that wants to start a business and help them through the same process and give back to the community that's given so much to myself over, the last 2 decades.
Yeah, I've gotten the chance to do the same, and being in a mentorship program where you get a mentor, but then you give back. And I find those relationships always valuable, because you learn, plus you're giving back and you're being able to help someone else, which I really love. I'm kind of curious, and we've never really talked about it on this show. I've always had the belief with mentors, there's different relationships that you have, but I've always really tried to leverage them well and have a structure and really make sure that you're making it as easy as possible for them. I'm just kind of curious if you have any thoughts in the best way to engage a mentor and leverage their time and their insight.
Yeah, so I think I can keep that pretty simple for you, Andy. And it's to be the best mentoree that you can possibly be. So that's how I approach a coach or a mentor or an advisor. Is I want to be the best mentoree that they've ever had, right? So I know that if I do my job really, really well for them, it's going to make that experience better, more efficient, and ultimately that's my advice.
No, that's fantastic. Just kind of switching gears a little bit. You obviously had the design build business and created this product. But the one thing that I hear a lot with founders, especially if they have an existing company, is finding the time and focus to build a product within another business. Was that something that was a challenge for you, or how did you manage that between trying to create a new business or a new product while you were probably trying to manage an existing business?
Yeah, so I would say that I lost focus. That was the biggest challenge. Was I'm building a $40 million estate home, and then I'm trying to build and revolutionize a part of an industry that needs a lot of help with technology, and so I couldn't be in both places, and so you ended up getting kind of the best half of me for most of the time. So it was that I'd say that was the biggest challenge. I tend to always do this professionally, philanthropically, personally. I always try to take on too much, right? Do more than I can. So 2021 is as far as I go, I'm definitely studying the art of saying no. Right, just trying to continue to keep my focus, and so I've been able to successfully navigate that by just kind of making the decision that I need to get out of my own way, if you will. And so I've been able to now find really great executive controllers for the construction company. I step out. EstateSpace is awesome, right, for me personally and professionally, because it's taken everything I've ever learned in my life, my career, and it's rolled on to one business. So the only service that we provide, that I still provide, is an owner representative service for our clients that are looking to deploy capital and invest in a real property asset that they own, an existing restaurant, business, home. And so I'm able to, work back to my construction company as an owner rep. But I'm not in the day-to-day business. I still love engineering and art and science, and so that's what drew me to that. And so, but now I'm and for the last probably 24 months now, I've just been my sole focus has been being the CEO of EstateSpace and being the best CEO that I can for the company, our team, and our clients.
And you have a technical background, right? You were saying.
Yeah.
How much have you used that? Do you get down to the level of writing the code, or is it just a scenario where you feel like it's good to have the knowledge to be able to have the right conversations with the right people?
Yeah, so I haven't written code since college, and my team challenges me to pick that back up, but I probably will not. I'd say that the methodologies that I learned technically through my education were things that I was able to carry in, but as far as my daily role goes, I'm a project manager for our development team. So I run our operation financially, but then also technically. I help write the requirements based on client feedback. So I'm at the ground level, but I am not coding. I understand, without a shadow of a doubt, I understand the technology stack, where we're going, how things integrate. I've got a fantastic CTO that I've learned a lot from, and in that role that I have, I'm kind of connected to everything, right? So that's for me, that's one of the favorite things that I love about this company, is that I'm able to kind of do all of these things in a way which I'm able to bring and help benefit the company with what I'm doing versus maybe hurting us by trying to do too much. So again, it's for me, this is like a dream come true, because I'm able to just continue to give back every day to all the people that are in my network, and that's kind of the thing with this company. We made the decision this year to stay family owned and operated, but managed institutionally, because this company has been built on relationships, right? And that's my number one capital as a person is kind of that human capital, not money or things, right? And so all the relationships that it's taken to get to this point, and now being able to help people across my entire career with this business, as we kind of maybe start to talk about the platform itself. That's for me super rewarding, and I can't do anything to harm that. And so now it's really a focus of scaling the company in 2021, continuing to build out our product and our platform, and just continuing to best serve all those relationships that we've been able to build over the last 18 plus years.
It sounds like you have a ton of passion for a lot of aspects of this. I'm kind of curious, just opening up the conversation of passion in business. How much do you think, if someone sees a problem and they want to start a business to do that, how much, do you think passion needs to be in that versus just, drive to make money or these other things? I'm just kind of curious your viewpoint on something like that.
Yeah, no, I actually have a viewpoint on both sides, right? So my first company, I started it to make money. I had an injury in my mid-20s that didn't allow me to do the things that I was doing from a construction standpoint, and so I had to really reevaluate, the business, my life, and that was kind of the decision point in my journey where I really dedicated my life to just wanting to help others. As far as like passion goes in anything, I think that's the beautiful thing. I mean, even though we're in the middle of a crisis and a pandemic, I see so much beauty coming out of all industries worldwide now, and just rethinking and reimagining things. And so I'm always amazed personally when I'm able to kind of see a startup or a new business that I could have never thought of in a million years, but makes perfect sense. And if you're doing something that you love, they say, you never work a day in your life. At the end of the day, it's definitely work. But having that passion is, and having the drive for the right reasons, right? Again, I'm happy to share my why with everybody, and knowing that one of the best things you can start a business on is wanting to help somebody else, both for-profit or non-profit. So I'm a super big fan of having a passion to do something. Ultimately, if you're for-profit, you need to make money to have the company grow. But money, in this case, those funds, those should be seen as a way to continue to expand and help more people. And so that's for me, simply put, yeah, you should definitely have passion. But the coolest thing I'm seeing is how people are solving problems and how we're going to forever be better for it, especially in the space of technology, where a lot of tech was built. As you look through the history of technology, there's been a number of revolutions over time, but I'd say the last 5 years have been pretty incredible. And the pandemic's driven us to another revolution that we're in the middle of right now. And I just continue to see technology not just existing to maybe help someone make money, but it feels like there's this huge shift, right, globally, where we're using technology to make a positive impact on society. And for me, that's what we're doing here. And it's just really awesome to see that trending up across the world.
Yeah. How did the pandemic affect you in kind of this journey? And I ask it in some ways from the perspective of, someone may not deal with a pandemic in a year, but just this idea that in business, you never know what can come up, a shift in the market, something that happens that's a natural disaster, a change in the economy. So one, did the pandemic affect you? And two, what are your thoughts on managing through a big impact that is kind of out of your control?
Right. So yeah, I mean, on day one, the pandemic definitely affected us in more of a negative way. I had a few $100,000 of construction work go away. Right. I was very concerned for ESTATESPACE, and our outlook is we're just getting ready to launch a commercial product, and now we're watching the market crash. Right. So that was interesting. But I think in any situation, you just got to go back to kind of your guiding principles, and especially with something like this, it's out of your control. Well, how can we leverage it? What are the things that we can control? How can we innovate, right? Well, what are we seeing here? And so with the pandemic, that's driven everybody industry agnostic, right, to rethink how they are actually doing everything from onboarding their client to managing and engaging over the course of the relationship. And so, that's kind of slow down and take a step back. Don't necessarily react to it. I think it is very important. And then ultimately, transparency across your team of trying to figure this out, right? Because we is always smarter than me, as I've been told and preach and practice. And I think it comes down to, like, for us with the pandemic, we're a pretty cool story in that, we have private funding, we've got government funding now. Prior to the pandemic, we did a pivot, like I said, in summer of 2019, and we downsized. I got rid of a lot of our long-term liability as a company, and we were in a pretty good position when the pandemic hit, and we knew where we were going at that point. And so that was super scary, right? We've just figured out how we're going to help as many people as I could ever imagine helping in the world, and now there's a pandemic, and so we were able to persevere through it, and we just did that together.
Yeah, I like that. We is better than me. So what's the team look like, and what are the type of people that you've surrounded yourself with?
Yeah, so we've got 6 people internally, and that is a mix of my partner and friend when it comes to starting companies, and Jay Shelby, and he's our VP of Sales and Marketing. So I'm able to kind of I've given all that to him, and I've taken that hat off completely now for about the last year, and that's been very helpful for me to focus on the operations and finance, where I've got fantastic controller, and then we've got customer success individuals, and we've got just 3 developers internally. Our team overall, though, is more closer to about 15 with some of our external partners that we have. Again, just a few partners. Try to just keep the business as simple as possible, especially at this stage, and really every stage thereafter. But it's exciting for us right now. So we ended up having our best year in 2020 through the pandemic because we were kind of remote before remote was kind of cool and necessary. But now in 2021 we're actually doubling in size. So we're actively hiring new developers. We've got a great problem, which is that we have traction and we can't build our solution fast enough for our customers. So that's just again very, very exciting, and again scaling and growing the business, but doing that in a controlled way, knowing that the right answer isn't always just throwing more horsepower at it. It's finding that right mix, and I'd say that's probably an attribute and knowledge I'm most thankful for now, is being able to. I had to pivot professionally from construction to technology, and that took me a couple of years. But through those experiences, I was able to really learn and understand, what is the best team. And I look at a lot of bigger companies as examples where some of the best work Microsoft did. They had 13 engineers in a room,
right?
And so it doesn't always mean that we just need as many people as possible. We need the right people, and you don't want to just think about it as I'm hiring great people and then I'll just have a great team. You need to hire the right people in order to have a great team. And I think we've done a really good job of that, and we've now put processes in place to ensure, to hopefully get more right people to join the company. So again, it's a super simple process, but we're really looking at people more personally, right, and a cultural fit. Obviously, they're going to need to have the technical competencies to actually, get the position. But we have probably a 60-40, personality fit versus technical competency, because we really want to really hold on to and make sure that we protect what's our most important attribute as a company, which is our culture.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit about that. Of how do you find the right people? Because I'm sure, like both of us, I've had the business for years, and finding people and training and building culture and all that stuff is always a challenge. it sounds like you use your culture and core values as part of that equation to find the right people. But are there other ways that you look and evaluate to get, like you said, the right people in on the bus?
I mean, I tell you, I'd rather be lucky than good. So, when it comes to kind of getting the right people, I think I feel like I've gotten pretty lucky. I think moving forward, I try to figure out, well, how can I repeat that luck? But it is tough to hire, and so I think that again, we just go back to really slowing down, right? The more people you interview, the better. Give them your full attention. Have a repeatable process in your hiring, so that you're able to then properly evaluate individuals for the position. So, and then I'm also a big fan of, even if somebody doesn't get the position, when it comes, I want to give them feedback, right? I want that 3 minutes or that hour and a half that they spent with me to be of some value to them professionally, because I know that if I was in their position, that that's what I would want. So I try to kind of look at it through their lens and provide them with some value, even if it was a 30-minute interview and we just figured it wasn't going to work. Not just saying no and not getting back to them, but really giving them that feedback. And by doing those things, we continue to hone and get to that right person. And so, it's but at the end of the day, it's really tough, and you just really do the best you can. I also believe, and what we practice is having not just myself, but multiple people on an interview, so that we can get different perspectives. And I think that's super helpful for us in being able to, have those different, people come together and debrief on somebody. And, what did you see? And making sure that we're all seeing this right. So not making it my sole or singular obligation to hire that person, but bringing our whole team in across the business, across verticals, to really best evaluate somebody.
Yeah, I totally agree. We a lot of times use our core values. It's a huge part of the business, and evaluate folks on how we feel they fit the core values, not only in the interview process, but as we go forward in reviews, just because it is, we always believe the core values are what we should do, and that, just foundational piece. Do you use things like vision, mission, core values, other elements in the business?
Yeah, no, so we do, but I think for us, we keep it simple, and for us, it's all about our why, right? We exist to help people. I'm a believer that in 5 seconds, we knew that we liked each other, Andy, and then talking, we knew that we wanted to have this interview and that we could talk today and we could talk in the future. Very quickly, there's so many things that we're processing as people, where we know what we like, we know what we don't like, we know what works for us and what doesn't. So I always start with my why, because it helps protect my time. If somebody doesn't like why I exist, then at that singular point, that saves us both time. If you don't want to help people, then we don't have the one thing in common, where now we can talk about honesty and integrity and the other values that we've built the business on. But we start with the why, and I've learned over time that protects the one thing that I covet the most, which is time, and saving me from going down paths that I didn't need to ever really go down, because we failed on step one, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. I love the kind of litmus test of, do you match the why? I'm kind of curious to shift gears a little into the product, and more the product planning. How do you evaluate what the right features are, and how do you get feedback from customers? How's that roadmap process look like for you and your team?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to any aspect of the company, what we did, we're grooming things on a daily and a weekly basis, whether finances, the operation, our people, our product release schedule, and not making that. I think that the best thing about a company, and especially a real estate space, is that it might have started with me as a founder and I had a vision, right? But now we have partners, we have clients, we have people, and so now it's our vision. And that's the best thing for me that I've experienced, is that our vision is way better than my vision ever could have been. And so I bring the team in. I typically, with my senior staff, I will kind of work through that release schedule of like, okay, we don't want too many chefs in the kitchen. So, we've got two people I've got a technical person, I've got the business requirements person, and myself. I'm our product owner, our project manager. So we're kind of grooming that together, and then we sprint weekly as a development company. So, and we follow an agile methodology. So every week we're getting input from all of our developers. Can they do that? Can they realize that? We've gotten lucky in that we have just phenomenal partners, both strategic partners as well as clients. So we've kind of hit some trifectas here with some just really great folks that, again, not to give away too much, but some really, really exciting things that we're going to be releasing this summer that I can't wait to hopefully come back and be able to share with you when it's ready to be shared. But as far as the product and the release schedule goes, dealing with that on a daily and weekly basis, and including all of the members that then make that possible, to include your designers, your developers, both front and back end engineers, and myself as a product owner, and then bringing our clients into the conversation and user testing, right? Those are all the things that we do here that allow us to kind of not necessarily get it right on the first try, but be 90% of the way to 100% versus we just built something and it's completely wrong, right? And I've been there and I've done that, and I've learned that one the hard way. So that process that we have now of constantly grooming our product release schedule, and then what we've done is we've just really focused on who's doing what when, what are their blockers, again, keeping it very simple, and then what are the requirements and what's the success criteria for that feature to then be ready for release. And so really understanding, again, very complex process that we've been able to simplify, and we do that by just kind of staying in constant communication and having complete transparency across the team.
Yeah, I think inclusion's really good because, if you're doing it too much in a vacuum, you're not getting the insights you need. But kind of on the reverse, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but on the reverse side, I see a lot of software, companies and founders that, inclusion can sometimes get overwhelming to lose focus. I hear where they're getting, they've got their own ideas and aspirations for where the product's going. They've got team members with ideas, customers, friends, family, all this stuff, mentors.
Yeah.
And I see companies quickly get overwhelmed or build features that aren't necessary. So how do you, I guess, take that inclusion, or what are your thoughts on balancing that inclusion with making sure that you're not, building the wrong product or the wrong features that aren't valuable or like you said, give back to customers and the people that are around you?
Right. So first, I look at our business model, which is we're a SaaS core offering, which means now we know that we have software as a service, which means that we don't do anything custom, whether it's custom development or it's custom services. We don't do it. Right. So we know what we do and what we don't do as a business model. We know that we have a marketplace of service providers and soon to be suppliers. And so we know that engagement has to be super simple. Right. And so then we know that when we have those two things and we keep them simple and we follow those basic rules, now we can use machine learning and AI. We can create a data set that we can then apply those things to, and we can increase our network effect as a modern business model. So that's first and foremost. The second thing is then a kind of a secondary set of guiding principles when we know that are related to our platform, which is that all of the tools that we build have to be universal. So whether you're a wealth manager, whether you're a caterer, whether you're an estate manager, any business, I believe, is a business, right? We all have, even if I'm a technology company, if I'm not, I'm still using technology. So all those same kind of, 100,000 foot attributes of a business, I believe, exist universally. And so we don't build anything that some client said, well, we need this thing. Well, okay, let's think about what you're really asking us for. And so we do a good job of kind of listening to someone that might share 1,000 words of requirements and boiling down to 7 words, right? I think you're really just saying this over and over again. Is that right? Right. So making sure that we understand what we're hearing and then saying it back in a simple way. And then ultimately, I have to be my biggest, I have to be the grounding rod as the product owner of what we're going to do and what we're not going to do, and what something sounds great or there's an opportunity that I know that if I just were to pivot my team just to say that we have an agile methodology, it's a slippery slope. I think that the agility lies in knowing that I've got a feature that could have an MVP state and then an advanced state, right? And so let's make sure that we're agile in our thinking through what do we really need as a foundation versus what do we then want to advance that feature to be able to do? Where could it end up being? So it's going to have 3 buckets of a basic and a beginning, then it's going to have advanced, and then it's going to have beyond capabilities. And so again, just kind of following those rules, I end up kind of becoming my best ally versus my own worst enemy when it comes to all of these requirements. And again, I learned that through working with a fantastic project manager in our commercial development. So it was like I just watched a guy that knew exactly what he was doing and was able to say no and started things on time, finished them on time. And, I was able to really kind of absorb all of those amazing qualities and bring that to this team as a PM and more or less emulate all those fantastic things that I saw and watched over the course of a 4 or 5 month development as we worked with one of our partners to be able to bring our product to the market.
Yeah, it's really great. Shifting gears again a little bit is customers. I think one of the biggest things that I see is, for companies that grow in the software space, they have a plan in the beginning to acquire those first customers, whether it's relationships they have or going to, a certain marketplace. But I also see a lot of people that struggle with that and say, okay, I've got this great idea, but, how do I get that first customer? How do I then turn a first customer into the first 20? I'm just kind of curious, where did your first customers come from? And how do you see the approach for software companies to grow their customer base?
Yeah, so good advice that I got is there's no place in life that's worth going that's easy to get to. But when it comes to clients and starting a company, you definitely want to know that you've got somebody there at the end of that path that's going to buy your product if you're a SaaS business. So for us, we knew that we already had clients within our network that included professionally past clients that we've had with our other businesses and family and friends. Where we don't go from 1 to 20. Our experience is that you can put a plan together of what you're trying to sell, and that's great. But at the end of the day, it's going to be 1 to 2 to 3. You're going to kind of celebrate all those wins, and now we're somewhere in the 40 to 50, and now you go from 40 or 50, and now you can start to get kind of exponential growth and start hitting the J curve of what a SaaS company should do. But I think it's just when it comes to clients, you definitely don't want to, even if you have a great idea, if you can't articulate it and no one can understand it, then no one's going to buy it. So being able to understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, who you're trying to accomplish it for, and then going out and practicing to say, okay, here's what I'm looking to do. Does this make sense? Was this something that you'd be interested in? And trying to understand what that marketplace actually looks like for you before you actually start to make investments and go ahead and go down that path of I'm going to start this company and do this great thing and help these people. You need to make sure that they want that help. And again, I've had the experiences of building something that never made it to market, and and going through all those kind of challenges in my transition back into technology. And I think it was it's important to understand that if no one can understand what you have, you could have the best thing in the world, but if you can't tell somebody what it does, then and they don't want it, then that business isn't going to be profitable. So.
Yeah, I always think if it takes too many words to explain something, then there's something that's too complex. You hinted at a big future for the product, but some of it you can't talk about. But I'm kind of curious, what does the future of both the product and the company look like? Where are you headed? What kind of things are you excited for coming up?
Yeah, so as far as our working through, say, the into the third quarter of this year, our real focus is completing our initial goal of here's the 25 disparate things that I need to use every day in my business, and now EstateSpace has all of them. So that end to end on any business operation, I can manage it simply. Everything that I do has an internal facing component, an external facing component. So I'm able to really at that point now visually transform the entire experience for all of our clients, right? Taking what is a heavily document-based business or client that is now moving to a database system, right? And now with that, we can do more than we ever thought possible. We're able to eliminate the majority of administrative work. We're able to better relationships because we have transparency, clear communication. We're gaining institutional knowledge because we're dealing with both. Our clients are able to manage their clients, manage their partners, their staff. So all those communications that happen outside of the enclave, which is your business, are lost, or you have to take the time to get back briefed on something two other people spoke about. So being able to do all that in one place is going to allow us to gain tremendous efficiency and really start to solve those first problems for our clients. So I'm most in the near term excited about that. But as far as what our end of year looks like is we're going to then be able to start looking forward to making the family office experience, the estate planning that some of the use cases that we've experienced that are just horrific and sibling divorce, and being able to take, which is very much an archaic, even with new technology, I consider it archaic, right? A document-based process in estate planning or putting together a family office, and making that experience simple, dynamic, and something that's easy to manage. That's an ongoing, constant evolution and management process, and managing your family's wealth, or managing a business's wealth, or trying to understand. It's easy to say that this person gets this X amount of money versus Y amount for child number two, but all the real property assets are where sibling divorce happens. And again, with all that, there's been hundreds of millions of dollars I've watched invested into companies and startups over the last 24 months. And they're Series C, but it's like I'm watching them go down the wrong path because they still can't solve what ends up being a huge problem for all families. And it's for me, I start with my why, and then I really like to talk about the things that we're solving from a problems perspective, because that's where I've been able to build some of the most meaningful professional relationships with EstateSpace, to include Pink Shark PR out of LA, who got me in touch with you guys, which I will be forever thankful for. And it was their founder that had that same experience, and so kind of talking through those things when you first are meeting people, and that really starts to protect your business because they understand why you exist, right? What are you doing? What are you trying to do? And so for us, being able to look back on 2021 at the end of this year and know that we've grown our team, we've scaled the business, but we've been able to kind of achieve that first horizon of growth, both as a company, but also for our clients. I think that when we look back on this year, that's what we're going to be able to say, and that's for me, I'm most excited about all those three things.
I always like to wrap up and ask a question about if you were able to go back in time, let's say to a couple of months before you really got on this journey for EstateSpace and have coffee with yourself. Is there one piece of advice that you would give, pre EstateSpace Jonathan?
Yeah, it would be that $1,000 question, right? I would take my $1,000 and go find the right advisor for this company. I just didn't. If I could ever do anything differently, that would be the one thing I would have done, because it would have saved me a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of ups and downs, and really just being able to find somebody that could kind of best shepherd me through this business, which is different from my other businesses. And so, while I'm a serial entrepreneur, and hopefully I can't say that I won't ever start another one, but kind of through those things, your business acumen, those things carry over. But if you're going to go into a different space, even within technology, right, this could be different from another SaaS. So just making sure that you get good advice way up front, and really focus on finding the right advisor for you. That's going to save you a ton of time. It's going to make the ride a lot better. And then again, as you continue to go from one venture to another, you're able to carry forward a ton of value that you've been able to build from one company to the other. But again, the advisor may be different, and so that's having a cup of coffee with myself, I would have said, Jonathan, go get the right advisor for this business before you actually want to start it. So.
I love it. I mean, I think today's conversation, we is better than me, you and I getting to come together, giving back, and even the concept of how important mentorship is, and hopefully some of the advice and ideas that we talked about today will help other folks. So I love and appreciate the conversation. For our audience, how can they reach you, or how can they learn more about EstateSpace?
Yeah, so you can just go to estatespace.com. You can visit any one of our social sites, so where you would expect to find us digitally, and then you can simply contact us, and we're happy to have a conversation. I think that's one of the things that I'll continue to make sure that we do as a company, which is not necessarily hiding behind a SaaS veil of I can't get a hold of a human being, right? We want to have a relationship with all of our clients, because for us that's the best part of having the company and being able to do the business that we do. So you can just reach out to us, either via email or by phone. But we are always happy to have a conversation, meet new people, and see how we can help. Very
cool. Well, again, thank you so much for being part of today's conversation and giving, to our audience and to me. And I wish you all the success, and hopefully you'll come back and talk to us as the product continues to evolve.
Yeah, no, Andy, thank you for having us on, and I really appreciate your time here today. I'm happy to come back at a later date and do this again. Just super happy that we were able to connect, and I look forward to a long-term relationship with yourself and your company.
Thank you. Awesome, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us today to hear about EstateSpace. We've got a show next Wednesday. Join us then, and I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks, Jonathan.